Welcome to San Diego Google Developer Group, GDG San Diego, for September 29th, 2021. Over to the right screen here. We will admit another person who is joining. Thank you and welcome. Right. Welcome, Rafael. Welcome, others. So welcome to the GDG San Diego meeting for September 29th. Sorry, Rafael, I'm going to mute you. You can unmute if you need. Typically, you would have a couple of GDG leaders on tonight. Bill is an Android engineer at a local San Diego company called Platform Science, and they have sponsored the GDG in the past. Bill's not attending this evening, as is Svetlin as well. Svetlin is an Android consultant, and typically Svetlin is the GDG leader and would be hosting these meetings. He's off this evening, celebrating his birthday, I think, is one of the reasons. So happy birthday to Svetlin. And myself, I have been helping out here with the GDG as a facilitator. My name is Kyle Murley, and I do work for Google as a customer engineer here locally in San Diego. The GDG has a mission. That is to explore topics relevant to all Google technologies, including Android, Cloud, Firebase, Google Maps, and others, as well as providing a forum for local and certainly right now in the current situation for remote folks as well to meet each other, explore similar interests, and it is very much open to beginners, intermediates, advanced users. Managers who are interested in exploring these topics, as well as even recruiters who are looking to meet capable and upcoming developers. So all of those folks are here. And a special invitation, if you're excited by what you are seeing and hearing, and you have a particular topic that you feel comfortable presenting on, or something that you would even just like to learn together as a group, that is very much the purpose of Google Developer Group, to learn together. And also extend that even further. If you have an interest in becoming more involved and becoming a co-organizer, very easy to express that interest either through chat or email, or bring it up here on the meeting. We'd love to have more people participating. This is very much GDG for users by users. With that stated, we do have a code of conduct, and it is required that we announce the code of conduct. Basically, it's to be a good person, right? Observe common norms of online conferencing, right? Mute yourself if you've got background noise. If you're able to use chat, please do so. Welcome, Connor. And also for Q&A, there is a button to raise your hand. You can do that if you'd like to unmute. We do have a facilitator and a moderator on this evening's call, so we'll do the best to try to insert that question or answer in at the appropriate time. Also, please do make use of the chat. If someone wants to pop a chat note in there, just say hi. Then you'll see where the chat is, but it's down in the bottom right, and everyone can see what's in that chat window. Again, as I stated at the beginning, this call is being recorded. Thank you, Connor. So if you are not comfortable being on camera and don't want to be part of the recording, I completely understand that. You are definitely welcome to leave your camera on and open your mic if you have questions, but we do want to put that disclaimer in there. If anyone has any objections, then you can drop from the call. Finally, for this part, we are going to do a giveaway. If you make it to the end, we will spin a fun wheel, and we'll give out some stickers. So all that's going to be required to do that is provide your first name, and we will randomly select a couple of people to get some stickers, and you can get in touch with us. And then we do want to invite you to continue this engagement and conversation outside of today's session. Something that is not on the GDG platform where you signed up for this meeting is any type of a forum or exchange. So we are encouraging our GDG San Diego users to join the Google Cloud community called C2C, and that's at c2cglobal.com. And with that in mind, I have a couple of commercials here that I promised to go through quickly, and we will get to today's content. Google Next is our annual conference, and that is coming up on October 12th through 14th. So it's a 3-day event. There's no code to register or anything. It is completely free. You can just visit this website, g.co/cloudnext, and sign up. There will be live keynotes every day, and then there will be different learning paths and tracks, including interactive Ask the Experts and breakout sessions. So I'd encourage you to take a look at g.co Cloud Next and sign up for Google Next 21. I've already mentioned C2C as our community forum. We actually have the opportunity, due to the sponsorship that C2C is bringing for our San Diego Google Developer Group, to have an in-person. This is going to be the first in-person event happening right here in San Diego. And I know some of you I reached out to maybe on LinkedIn or through other channels to extend the invitation. If you are interested in joining, obviously no obligation, but it is a local event in person in Del Mar. And I just put the registration link there, so feel free to join. It would be awesome to get to know some of you in person. So the reason that we're gathered here today is to do some cloud study jams. Hopefully you got here because you saw one of the events advertised. We do have a quest that we're doing tonight that's related to ML and AI, and we actually have this quest as part of a series. Next week, we are going to continue with a different quest. We won't finish all of the labs in this quest tonight, but next week, we're going to start another quest talking about serverless and cloud run. So if you're interested in that, or you know someone who might also be interested, please invite them. But right to the point, what is a study jam? It's a collective learning experience, doing hands-on activities guided by a Googler to facilitate that. And why do them? Well, it gives you access to a live Google Cloud Platform environment for free. You can also earn skills badges that reflect the work that you have done in the investment. And tonight, during the Cloud Jam, you have access to not only Googlers to help facilitate that, but in fact, some specialists if you want to go deeper on any of the AI and ML technologies. So talking about that one, this is your mission should you choose to accept it tonight. The quest is going to be this one here: perform foundational data, ML, and AI tasks, and it's part of the smart analytics skill. And the specific lab that we're going to do is an AI platform Quickstart. It's got basically 4 sections to it. You'll see it when we get into there. But I'm going to run you through the 3 or 4 easy steps to get started. If you've done a Qwiklab before, you may already have an account. That's great. If you have not, you will want to create one at google.qwiklabs.com. I'll put that link into there. And before starting this next process, I'm gonna show you that you want to sign out of your Qwiklabs account just to make sure that you get signed in, as we were chatting with Richard at the beginning, right? Having multiple accounts, you can get signed into one that you may not expect, right? So sign out so you're purposeful on which account you sign in. And then when you're ready, you're going to visit this website, go.qwiklabs.com/cloudstudyjams2021, or I made a bit.ly link. It's going to take you to the same place. And there we're going to choose this icon, and we're going to click the enroll button for this quest. Now, when you do that, it's going to pop up and ask you for a study jam access code. And that is the code that we have for tonight. And I will paste that in as well, just like it's 1998. Go. So when we get there, it will prompt you for that access code. What that access code is going to do is it's going to insert a small amount of Qwiklabs credits into your profile. So once you've applied that code and enrolled, those credits should show up in your profile. You won't get this number of credits. You'll get enough to do the first quick start. If you complete that first lab, what's nice is it will convert then to a monthly subscription, and you actually get 30 days of access to Qwiklabs to do other quests as well. So that's the motivator to get through the first labs in this quest, is it will unlock that monthly subscription. So once you put that code in, if you go to your profile and you don't see those credits, do a quick reload on your browser or try signing out and signing in, see if those credits show up. If you have trouble with that at all, let us know, and we have a fallback way to help you. Finally, then, you will be in the Qwiklabs environment, and you will start that Qwiklab, and it will provide you some temporary credentials. This part here, you probably want to open the Google console in an incognito window. So using Google Chrome, or you can use Firefox to open that up in an incognito window. Again, if you have any trouble, if you see a screen like this, or you see something where when you click start, it's asking you to buy credits, don't do that. Don't buy credits. You don't have to do that today. We have a code for you. It should be this one. If it doesn't work, let us know, and we'll get you a fallback code for that. Once we get inside of the console, there are two ways to interact with Google Cloud in the console, using the GUI, or you can also use the command line interface using Gcloud. So the instructions for the Qwiklab will point you toward one or the other. Typically, you can choose which way you're more comfortable working. And then finally, when you've completed the lab, to make sure that you get the credit and unlock the badge for doing it, make sure that you end that Qwiklab. That will tell the system that you've completed it. If you just close the window, the timer will run, and you won't get any credit for having completed it until that timer completely runs out if you finished all of the objectives. So with that, I am going to yank myself off of the stage here and introduce you to your presenter and your facilitators this evening, your moderators. Norm, I call him Norman, is going to lead this Qwiklab. And then we have Sergio Villani, is a machine learning and AI specialist here in San Diego, sits in our San Diego office. And then we also have a lovely moderator, Ms. Gabby Corrales, who is here to help out. If anyone gets off the path or needs some help, we can try and do that through the chat. With that, any questions from the attendees or audience as Norm gets started? Have we confused you and overwhelmed you, or does everything sound good?
I'm going to go ahead and start then. I'm going to grab the mic, Kyle. I did put a poll in there. So if you go to there's a triangle, circle, and square button on the lower right. It should navigate you to a place where you can choose polls. And if you guys can just fill that in. I'm just trying to get a feel for the audience who's going to be participating, your familiarity with using Jupyter Notebooks. And so it looks like there's 2 votes or a little bit. I know that this is an intermediate course. We're going to be using Jupyter Notebooks. I'm just trying to figure out if you've never heard of Jupyter, if you think it's a planet, or if you're a full-fledged data scientist who lives in Jupyter Notebooks every day. I think it's pretty good that there's some familiarity. I'm going to be touching on some of the basics. If it's a little too basic, feel free to kind of tap me on the head and just say, we already know this, Norm. Let's keep on going. So thank you very much for answering the poll. Let me go ahead and share my screen.
I'm glad that Jupiter didn't go the way of Pluto.
So, yeah, Jupiter is still a planet as far as I know. And
just keeping tabs. While you're getting set up, I was going to ask, I know Richard is local here, either in the chat or just say hello. Are you local, or are you local to San Diego, or are you remote? Rafael, Alphonse, I know you are remote. Connor, are you guys in San Diego or nearby? Rafael, great. Maybe you can come to the in-person event. coming up in October. That'd be good. Oh, and Connor sits next to you, literally next to you. You can see him from where you are. Oh, that's awesome. That's great. Welcome, both of you.
So you should be able to see my screen. We're on the quest. It should, I think, if you click on the link, it should bring you to this quest. It either should bring you to the quest or it should bring you to the first lab. It's AI Platform Quickstart. I just wanted to highlight this page just to show you that the lab we're going to be doing is part of an overall quest. Kyle mentioned it earlier. As you finish this initial lab, it'll unlock credits where you can tackle other types of learning labs, such as data prep, which is one of our ways where you can do a lot of transformation of data. A lot of this transformation of data is useful for what's called feature engineering within machine learning type of iterative development of a model. There's also data flow. Data flow is, again, another way you can transform your data. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I just wanted to point out here that this is part of an overall quest, and that quest is a group of labs that you can tackle as you see fit after you finish this initial lab. So assuming, has everyone been able to get to this page? Has everyone been able to input their code? I just want to make sure. If there isn't anyone, please just either get off your mic and say, go ahead, Connor. Were you able to get in, Connor, or are you just indicating that you've had trouble?
Hey guys. Yeah, no, sorry. I've had trouble getting in here. It's only showing me as having 1 credit on my account.
Gotcha. Okay. And then, excuse me, let me confirm how many credits you need for that first
The 1 credit is from us.
lab. If it
Yeah, and the
doesn't,
one. So I was actually working on something with Raphael earlier yesterday, and he gave me that 1 credit. So it looks like I haven't gotten any credits from the.
you haven't gotten any additional
The
credits.
link,
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
1 credit will be enough to get you through
Okay.
the first quick start lab. But while we get that settled, let me send you a backup code just in case.
Okay. If one's going to be enough for me to get started, that's cool too.
Okay.
Okay.
I will find that other one for you.
I'm going to go ahead.
Everyone else is good?
Oh. Go ahead, Kyle. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
No, just confirming with Raphael and Richard and Alphonse. Everyone else is good. Thumbs up. Okay, great.
Wonderful.
Good here.
Okay, glad to hear. Thank you.
I'm going to click on this first one, AI Platform Quickstart. As I click on it, it navigates me to really, we're going to be spending a lot of time on this page. This is basically the recipe for everything we're going to be doing today. And you can see it's a very long web page. It's literally a click-by-click, step-by-step process for doing everything we'll be doing today. Is everyone used Qwiklabs before? Is there anyone that hasn't used Qwiklabs, I should say? Raise your hand if you haven't. If you haven't, then maybe I'll spend a little bit more time. It looks like everyone has.
Yeah, if everyone's used Qwiklabs before, maybe we can fast forward over the tour. But if anyone has not, don't be afraid. We don't want you to be completely disoriented in here. Richard, I know you had done some, and it sounds like Connor and Raphael did some already together.
Perfect.
All right.
So the purpose of this quick start is it's going to really give you an end-to-end experience for training a model. In fact, we already have all the code. We're not going to be developing any new code. We're just going to be training an existing. So we're going to give you the code that'll train a model, and then we're going to deploy prediction. We're going to do it locally within a Jupyter Notebook instance that happens to be on the cloud, on the platform. And then we're also going to deploy a job to the cloud as well, a training job to the cloud. So all the instructions are here. Be careful when you start the lab. You want to do it within a separate incognito browser, as Kyle had mentioned. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and start the lab so you can see the experience. But just to let you know, we'll be starting after I start this lab. We'll be going straight into Jupyter Notebooks. Go ahead and press Start Lab. And all the credentials are here. I'm going to go ahead and open up the Google console. And you have all the credentials here as well. I'm just entering the passcode. So I'm switching back and forth between two windows. I'm going to go ahead and rearrange my windows in a certain way such that we can see the lab instructions as well as the console. So let me go ahead and do that. Accept the terms of service, agree and continue. It'll keep on helping, it'll keep on setting it up as you accept the appropriate prompts. So after a few moments, you should get to the point where you're on your home screen. The instructions really direct you to navigate to really notebooks. I like to just do a shortcut here, just type in notebooks here and choose from some of the various choices. So as I type in notebooks on the top navigation bar or the search bar, I'm just going to choose notebooks and AI platform. So if you're following along in the instructions, I'm on step number 2. On the notebook instances page, click on new instance. So there's new instance at the very top. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And the one we're going to be choosing here is TensorFlow Enterprise. And in the submenus, it's TensorFlow Enterprise 2.3 without GPUs. If I'm going too fast, please tell me to slow down. So in this dialog, it says, well, I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to give it a name, norm D123, for example. I know it's going to be specific. They want us to specify a certain region, so we're going to specify US Central 1. It actually says we should be editing the instance properties. I'm going to go ahead and click this pencil here. And as I click this pencil here, it actually gets rid of that dialog box and it opens up the the configuration in full screen. And it's actually here. Let me go ahead and make this a little bit bigger here, where we can better specify the machine configuration. And I know I'm going back and forth between these two windows, but I know that they're asking us to specify an N1 standard 2 for the machine type. So let's just go to that drop down, N1 standard 2, select that one. Leave the remaining fields with their default and then press create. So if you scroll all the way down, I'm going to go ahead and press the create button. I'm going to go ahead and press the create button. Okay, let's see if this will work a third time. I'm going to go ahead and press the create button. Okay. Create. Create. Okay.
Interesting. Don't see
Create.
if you're missing anything. You scroll all the way back up to the top, Norm, and you're missing that. Oh, there we go. Oh, yep, that's it. It was at the top. So no underscores in those instance names. Rafael, you asked a question if you needed to select the project. If you look on norms up at the top, you see where it says Qwiklab GCP, and then it has some type of a hash. That should be generated by Qwiklabs for you. So if yours does not look like norms, you can go up there and select. If you see a bunch of projects that are like ones that you've worked with before or part of your job, make sure you're logged into the correct GCP account from the console. Cool. All right.
So yeah, let me go back to. I have a million screens here, so I apologize for going back. I don't even know where my screen is for this particular one. So there it is.
Norm's not exaggerating. I've actually seen his office, and he in fact has 1 million physical screens.
I don't know how many pixels I have. You don't want to know. So actually, this is going to take about anywhere from 2 to 4 minutes to spin up this Jupyter notebook. So, you know, you can have multiple notebooks here. You can keep them in a stop position and start them up as needed. So in this case, this is the first one we're creating here, and they can be different machine types. You can have some with GPUs, some with other types of configurations.
So can I have a question? Can I ask
Sure.
a question? So what's happening in the background here right now? I mean, while we are.
Sorry, Richard, you're a little bit faint. We can hear you, but barely. There we go.
Maybe I try again. What
Much
is happening in the background? What are you spinning up? I mean, there is something being an instance of something on some virtual machine or whatever clusters. What is it that you are starting right now in the background?
I mean, that's exactly it. We're basically spinning up a virtual machine to support, and the virtual machine is of this certain machine type that we specified.
Okay.
And the Jupyter notebook. So think of it as this way: this is the machine type. This could be a physical machine that you might have in your own room, and we're going to be running a Jupyter notebook on this type of machine. So, but in this case, it's a virtual machine, and it's going to be hosted on the cloud.
So it's
Does anyone
some.
Go ahead.
So it's some Jupyter note. I think Jupyter is it that's open source. Some dependencies installed, because it takes quite some time to spin this up. Usually a compute doesn't take that long, so it's just kind of curious.
Yeah, it's a compute engine machine with a predefined image, and so there's a catalog of images that you can select from, as well as the ability to insert your own custom image. So say, for instance, you have a particular tool chain that your data scientists or your ML engineers like to work with. Google, if you wanted to show some of those, Norm, while this is still creating, if you click New Instance and then look at the drop down that's in there, you can see, right? So we went for a TensorFlow Enterprise, but just a standard Python 3 if you're just doing some pandas, scikit-learn. If you're going to get more into like Keras and other tool sets inside of it, those are built in. And there's some other even experimental like IDEs and a special image for Kaggle, if you've ever seen any of the Kaggle competitions. That comes with a lot of the tools already built in. So it gives you the kind of nice to haves. Everything's already baked into the image rather than starting with, download and install and figure out dependencies for all of those.
Yeah, so I'm just going through the dialog box here
Thanks.
of how we configured it.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things you might want to do, for example, is specify SSDs just to make it a little bit faster. Now, I mean, if we wanted to do different configurations, let's say we change it to SSD, it goes up nominally, right? So as I change it from,
I got the link. I got a link in the meantime. So yeah, the Open Jupyter Lab. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, perfect.
Oh, great. Yours has
So
provision.
we can stop the excursion. Now go back.
Wonderful. So assuming that you guys have the same link, Open Jupyter Notebook, Open Jupyter Lab, go ahead and click on that. It's going to open up a separate tab. And if you're used to using Jupyter Notebooks, this should look a little bit familiar. And if you go back to the instructions as well, you'll see here that we're on step number 9. Is everyone else there, or is there everyone else's Jupyter Notebook still spinning up?
I'm here.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and push forward unless someone stops me. So we're going to clone an example repo within our notebooks instance. And so if you're on this page, if you're in Jupyter Notebooks, you should see a terminal icon. Go ahead and click on it and copy the command line that we're going to enter here to copy it from an existing repository to our location here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on terminal. I'm going to paste that. And you'll see here that it's actually cloning information, all the required materials to this training data analyst folder. And so we just need to wait a couple seconds for that to finish. And we'll be spending all our time here within this folder, training data analyst, at least for the first part.
Those of you who've done, so I was going to say, those of you who have done Qwiklabs before, it'll be no surprise. So the things that we're going to do inside of the Jupyter Notebook, in your lab guide with the instructions, you'll see there's the blue check my progress button. So you will be clicking that to confirm that, hey, you've created a bucket and you've put something in it, for instance. So the things that you're doing inside of your Jupyter Notebook will be reflected, in fact, in your GCP console in that environment.
Exactly. Thanks, Kyle. One little housekeeping thing in a sense, whenever you open up a Jupyter Notebook, well, actually, I'm ahead of myself. Navigate to a certain location, the folder Training Data Analyst, Self-Paced Labs, AI Platform Quickstart, and open up a certain notebook that is called AI Platform Quickstart. And so here it is, Self-Paced Labs, AI Platform Quickstart. And open up this specific file. And we're going to be running through this Jupyter Notebook. Give it a second. And while you're here, just go to Edit and clear all outputs. I don't expect there to be any outputs. Sometimes when you open up, there are some outputs from a previous run. Okay. And so we're not going to go back to the instructions for a while. We're not going to go back to the instructions really until we deploy to the cloud. So if you have the instructions on separate screens like I do, I'm just going to go ahead and make this a little bit wider. So we're going to be spending most of our time within Jupyter Notebooks. Okay, let's go ahead and start going through this. For those, this might be a little basic for everyone, but a Jupyter Notebook is a notebook type of interface that is really the tool of choice for data scientists. It's a way where you can take a lot of the things you would do as a data scientist using Python to import your data, to cleanse your data, to do what's called feature engineering in terms of segmenting your data, categorizing it, doing all sorts of things in terms of data magic to make it suitable for creating a model and training it. The reason why it's like a notebook is, at least what I've been told, it's like a scientist's notebook where you're taking in notes, you're trying things out, and you're just interactively going through a process in some type of sequential fashion. In this case, we're taking code and we're doing it step by step, and we're able to see outputs, and we're also able to annotate it. And so that's what we're going to do here. We're just going to go through this in a sequential fashion and just execute these codes, each code within these cells. So I'm going to highlight Import OS. There's a button here that basically will take this cell and it'll execute it. So that's one thing we can do. We can run the code in that cell. In this case, we're going to import OS. This code right here just lets us interact with the operating system within this virtual machine. So there's 3 major steps here. Get your training data. Step number 2 is, I think, running your local instance, run a local training job, which we'll do shortly. And step number 3 is doing everything we just did within this local training job, but doing it within the cloud. So this first cell right here, this first set of executable code here, is really just going to run a command on the command line interface through a bash. It's going to make a directory. And then within this directory, we're going to copy data that comes from a certain location into a data folder that's going to appear on the left-hand side. So we're creating the data folder, then we're going to put data in it. You can see here on the left, there's no data folder right now. One way you can quickly do this instead of pressing that play button is you can hit the Shift key and then Enter, and it'll actually execute that code in the cell. And you can see here, there's some feedback that it gives. It's created. In fact, if I were to go over here to the left-hand side and refresh the screen on the left-hand side, actually already did it. There's a data folder. And then you can also see here that it's copied a certain amount of data, well, all these different files to this data folder. So I'm going to double click on this data folder, and these are the files that were copied. Everyone following me so far? Is there anyone that needs me to stop and explain anything? Or is everyone good so far? Silence is golden. I'm going to keep on going.
Yep.
Again, another
keeping up with everybody in the chat. I think we're good.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Another executed. Think of this as just doing this within the command line interface. I'm going to make a variable out of the data. So basically, trained data is going to be this variable is going to consist of the data that's within that one of those CSV files. And so trained data and evaluation data, we're going to be use that for training and evaluating the model that we're going to be bringing in later. You'll also see here that there's a number 3. That basically means that this command has been executed, or the code in the cell has been executed. If it's an asterisk that's showing up, you'll see here that there's going to be an asterisk for some long-running commands. It means that it's still in process. So when you see this number, it means it's good. Also, when you see some feedback, that's also good. I'm going to go here to this next command, %bash. So this head data, adult data CSV, it's going to give the first few rows of whatever is in this CSV file. So it's going to read that file. It's going to give the first, I think in this case, it gives the first 10 rows within this CSV file. And with that, we've just finished step 1. Again, step 1 was all about just getting your training data to a place where we can start messing with it. And in this case, we got it here to this data folder that was created within our Jupyter Notebook instance. And we've assigned it to certain variables, and we've taken a look at it. Let's go ahead and move to step 2. We're going to run a local training job. So we're going to do this as if we're just on our machine, as if this was my laptop. So the first thing we're going to do, and in fact, I'm going to go over here back to the AI Platform Quickstart. You can see here there's a data folder. This first set of code here is it's going to make a new directory, and it's going to be called trainer. And it's going to actually create another file, another Python file. So I'm going to go ahead and Shift execute that. And you'll see here that the trainer folder was created. We're going to go over here to this. So what this is going to do, it's going to create a file called util.py. And it's going to write all this stuff to that file. And I'm not going to explain this file, but this file well, I'll explain a little bit. We're going to create 3 different files. The 3 different files are all about what a data scientist typically does in terms of grabbing data, cleansing it, categorizing it in certain ways, pre-processing it. When I say categorizing it, that means that's the different aspects of feature engineering that the data scientist would do in terms of what it in the model building process. So that's what we're going to be doing as we create these files. So you can see here, I haven't executed this yet. You can see it's a blank bracket. So I'm going to go ahead and Shift Enter. And you'll see here as I Shift Enter and scroll back up along, you can see here that the number appears. That means it's executed. Let me scroll back down. And so if I go back, if I go to trainer, for example, you'll see here, there's that util.py. And if I were to actually double click on it and open it up, this is the same set of code that was just copied into it. So that's what's happening there. I'm going to go to this next gray cell, and it's going to write a new file called model.py into that same folder. Shift Enter. And you can see here that model.py now appears on the left-hand side. And this last one here, it's going to create task.py. It's going to actually, this task.py is actually going to appear here as I execute it as well. And hopefully it doesn't make me a liar. There it is, task.py. Has everyone created those files? Is anyone not keeping up? Just want to make sure. Raphael, go ahead.
Hi, I hope not to take too much time, but I just wanted to get an idea if you know what this data is, what kind of predictions are we going to be making, what kind of features are being selected, just cursory, so.
Yeah, good question. It's I'm trying to remember now. In fact, let's go ahead and take a look at the data.
I can talk about it. It's banking. It's a banking data set where basically you have a sample of users and has some background information into what kind of education they come from, their age, some information about the users, and at the end of the I think you'll see at the end it basically is trying to make a prediction, and either the user will do a certain thing or not.
Yeah, I've got just one question, if that's okay. What kind of model? I mean, after very cursory understanding, like, are we doing like a regression, or is this like all the way from a neural net to a TensorFlow? What kind of model is this?
I'm not sure I captured it 100%, but in this case, the model is a Keras. We're using the Keras API, and basically there are a set of layers that I think Norman was just scrolling through. I think there is information in in the preparation for the code there. It gives you some details. And it's a pretty straightforward way to implement a TensorFlow sophisticated model through a pretty simple API interface, just defining the layers, the number of neurons, the kind of activation that you want in a pretty straightforward way.
Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and push on because we're going to build a model. I know some of the other steps are going to take a few minutes, a little bit later on, and we can ask more questions at that point. Let's just get the model process going. So you can see here that we're going to take the model and we're going to put it in a directory called output. Let's go ahead and shift enter there. And you can see here there's an asterisk, which means it's thinking and working. There's things happening in the background. When it's done, it's going to create a Keras export folder underneath the output. So we just need to wait a little bit as this happens. And in fact, output just finished on my end. And it's still thinking. At some point, there will be a Keras export folder which will contain basically the files we need for the model. Sergio, am I missing anything here?
No. And actually, all the details information was passed in the chat by Kyle, so it's way more precise than my what my summary was. So if you're curious, yeah, it's all there.
And you can see here the various iterations that went through its training. It did create. I'm going to scroll back up here. Where is it? No, actually, I'm going to scroll all the way down. It did create a Keras export folder underneath output, and as we navigate to it, these are all the folders and files associated with this model. And in fact, if we're to execute the next piece of code, it's just going to list the appropriate, it'll list basically what's in this directory. within Keras export.
So to wrap up your question there, as you can see in the items, that's a saved model. So that's actually a full-fledged tensor. It's a standard full-fledged TensorFlow saved model in protobuf format that you can basically use and export everywhere, and it contains the entirety of the model. So the weights, the structure, the architecture, and all the parameters. So
yeah, that's a standard kind of exchange, Raphael. So what you're asking there, I don't know, Sergio, if you saw the question, could I put that into a container and run it somewhere else, or could I, use it to serve a prediction off of almost any type of device that can make predictions using that saved model, as well as picking up and continuing on the training as well. So all of that is done in line and presented to you in a transportable format. Kind of additional level of detail there, Sergio, on kind of what some of those files describe, like the variables and the assets and things we could talk a little bit more about, but not sure where we are on time.
No, yeah, it's perfect. You said it. It's a TensorFlow saved model, and protobuf, that's industry standard. That's basically it can be used anywhere inside any container, any deployment, and it's kind of like the yardstick for saved models.
So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and execute the next piece of code. We're going to start making predictions on some data. So just shift execute there. We're basically processing some data for input. And it just finished. And then we're going to just show what these input files are going to be. So these are class. I mean, I have no idea what 2, 4, and 5 are for marital status, but it's the numerical representation of these various categories.
So
from here, go ahead.
Yeah, just to make sure those are some basic transformation, right? Those where you see 1, 2, 3, those are categorical. So it's married or high school or college education, something. And we did some basic transformation of those string inputs into a numeric representation of it.
It was in one of those files earlier that we created that basically takes the typical string values and assigns them a number or categorizes them into numbers. And so it's defined up in one of the earlier files. The way the model building process and predictions work is you want to have the models basically put into a numerical format. So we're going to go ahead and take this data. We're going to execute these files right here into a JSON format. And then we're going to use our trained model for the predictions. So the model we had earlier, we're going to feed in the input file to test for predictions. I don't know how to interpret this, but this is basically the output. And that would correspond to, I mean, if I were to look at this model a little bit more closer, this would have meaning if I were to look at the model code a little bit more. Sergio, do you know how to interpret this? I haven't looked at the model very closely.
So I think we have a softmax at the end. So basically, you have a set of responses that range from, oh, that's bizarre because it's 4 something. That should be between 0 and 1. So you have
it's times 10 to
4.
the -9. It's essentially 0. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. That makes more
Yeah.
sense. So you have you have one answer that has a high probability, 88, 89. So basically, and I don't know how familiar you are with softmax function, but basically you have a set of inputs. They all get passed through the through the function, and for each of those, it expresses a probability. 0 being no, not probable. 1 being certain. That is the most probable result. So what you're seeing there are probability scores between 0 and 1. So at this point, if you had to enforce this in an application, you will select probably your top, your higher number as the output, or even your top 2 or top 3. Let's say if you were doing recommendations, right?
And then also you can
So
set your
that's-
thresholds as part of the deployment as to what, maybe something over 0.6 might be something that you might want to activate on, as opposed to 0.5. So, Raphael, to answer your question, did you get all the same training testing data? Yes. But in terms of the evaluation data, it might not be the same, just because it randomly chooses it when we're going through the process of putting together the input data. So the data that's used for your, I doubt that your numbers are going to be the same, because you would have likely chosen, your running would have probably chosen different rows. I'm going to go, in the interest of time, to step number 3. We're going to do everything we just did, but we're going to do it on the cloud. And so we're going to go ahead and go here. We're going to export. We're going to create, we're going to create a variable, the project. I'm going to create one called project, which is essentially our project. It's the name of our GCP project. You can see here it's Qwiklabs GCP 00, etc. For me. We're going to give, we're going to assign project, bucket name, and region here. So I am going to take this right here, Qwiklabs GCP, etc. And I'm just going to copy it here under your project name. I don't know if you see what I just did. I just took Qwiklabs, this whole text string, and I just put it in the quotes here to help define this variable, because we're going to make a bucket, and the bucket is going to be this name -AI platform, and I just executed it. And we're going to define a little bit more, a few more variables here as well. While you guys are doing that, I'm going to go back to my Google Cloud Platform interface. I'm going to open up a new tab, and I just want to show in Google Cloud Storage what was just done in that piece of executed code. So I'm just going to navigate. Where is it? Google Cloud. I'll just navigate to Google Cloud Storage. And it looks like I'm a liar. I thought I had created it. Oh, you know what? I haven't done it yet. It's in step 3.1. It's going to take those variables and it's going to create that Google Cloud bucket. So if you go to step 3.1, set up a cloud storage bucket, shift enter. It's going to create that bucket. We go to that next step. So it just created it based on this feedback. Next step is we're going to assign some variables again to the same pieces of data that we had earlier. But in this case, it's within that GCS bucket. We're going to copy the test JSON to that same location. And then we're going to create another variable for test JSON, which is the location of that test.json file. So now I'm going to go back to Google Cloud Storage. And if I refresh this page, you'll see here that now I have a bucket. The bucket is the name of my project-AI platform. And that was created based on what I executed within Jupyter Notebooks. If I click there, there's a data folder. As I click into this data folder, it's all those same files that we just brought over, that we just copied over based on that executed code within the Jupyter Notebook. So I'm going to pause there. I know I just went through that very quickly, but is everyone else there? Wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's just go ahead and move forward. What are we going to do next? Let's see here. We're going to run a single instance trainer on the cloud. So just go ahead and shift enter here. This will take a while. Basically, we're running a job. And so you can see here, just ran a job. We can take this census 210930. Can replace that there in this next piece of code and hit shift enter. It executes. I'm going to go back to my cloud interface. I'm going to go to jobs. Just have this open. And you can see here that there's a job running. And it's custom code training. And so what have we done? We're basically training the model on the cloud instance rather than our Jupyter Notebook. So I'm going to pause there. Any questions? I know I went through that very quickly. I just know it's going to take a while for this to happen. I just wanted to get to this point where we're actually building the models and running a job. Okay. What do you guys think so far? Is this, am I going too fast? Am I going just right?
Raphael is getting an error. Looks like I'm going to go back.
Is anyone else getting framework?
So step 24, is that what you're saying that, Raphael, in Norm's screen? Was it step 24 where you got that error? Go down to Norm.
I think I'm a little ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, you might be a little
So
bit.
I'm okay up until there. Yeah, I'm okay up until the job ID. It's just yeah. I'll let you continue. Sorry.
So you're a step ahead, a couple steps ahead. Okay. See if we get there. Yeah, you're publishing the endpoint. Is that what you're saying?
I'm wondering if we can just move a little bit ahead. Just go ahead and declare this variable. Actually, while we're here, I'm going to go back to the Quickstart and just mark off some of these tasks. So if you go back to the Quickstart, the instructions, the first checkpoint is, did you set up a cloud storage bucket? I'm going to go ahead and check my progress. And yes, I did. I'm going to go, did I upload the data files to my GCS bucket? Check my progress. Yes, I did. Did I run a single instance trainer on the cloud? Let's see if this actually. No, it's not. It's been submitted, but it's not in the succeeded state. So we just have to wait for that job to finish. So we just need to wait. And while we're waiting, let me make sure that we have enough time left on this Qwiklab. We have about 20 minutes, at least 19.5 minutes left on my side.
And maybe just a preview, Norm, of what the next few steps are going to be, right? So we've done this sort of training the model locally, and now we've kicked off a job. Once we've done that, it's going to do the Keras export, and we're going to create a version of that model. And then if we've got the time, we're going to publish that model, and then we're going to make a prediction against it, hosted on a cloud endpoint, which may be where you are already at, Raphael. You've worked ahead a little bit.
Couldn't have explained it any better. Has anyone else's job finished? I find that if I click the refresh button, it goes a little bit faster.
5 times is the magic.
Let me see what view log says. You know, the benefit of this, of course, is we're doing this all in the cloud. I remember having to do this on my laptop and then going to sleep and then waking up hoping my model is done. So much better experience.
Based on what I saw in there, a refresh might be the best thing here. I'm still doing it.
Is anyone's finished? I'm just curious how long it took theirs if they did.
Richard says not yet.
Still spinning. I'm like at 5:40.
Oh, mine just finished.
Oh, there you go.
Mine took 5:57.
Yeah, mine too. 5:56.
Let me check. I just checked progress and assessment completed. Job count 1. Wonderful.
Yeah.
So, in the interest of time, I'm just going to go ahead and go forward with this. I'm going to run the following command to create a version 1 of the model. It's thinking. It's going to think for a little bit. It's going to take a while, a few minutes. Hopefully not 5 minutes and 57 seconds, but but hopefully it'll. So yeah, you guys go ahead. Oh, you now have 2. Oh, there you go, Raphael.
Overachieving, Raphael. Did you run the job more than once?
Yeah, I actually went back and then I ran job with a new job ID, did that. So yes, yeah, I have 2 now. But
Cool. We'll get one that works.
So question, did you just execute 27?
I executed 27, yes, because it's going to create version 1 of the model.
All right, I just got a nice error here. Beautiful. I'll try to paste it in the chat for the experience. It doesn't do that. It says failed precondition framework cannot be identified from model path.
Okay, that's the error that Raphael, you also got. So that was at this step where it's outputting.
Raphael, were you able to work through that, or what did you do to get through that error if you did?
so I think what was actually happening is if you don't wait enough for the job to get set up, and then you try to request that in the next zone, it says there's nothing there. So you might just have to wait for a little bit for everything to spin up, and then.
That would make sense if it's a path, right? If you cannot be identified from the model path. So if the model path doesn't contain the model, or that path hasn't been set up yet from that job, that might give you that error.
Was the job already done when you executed it?
Yes, mine was. I think he failed before he when he started the job, and I finished the job successfully, and I am failing one step later.
So I would say just be patient there and repeat the operation. There is a step in between that it's not very intuitive, and that has changed now in GCP. But basically, if you look at the code, there is a step between your training, which completely completed successfully, and then you write the model to storage. There's a step where basically you create a placeholder, really, because you're not even creating a model. You put in there a name, to which then later on you go to apply the model. If you do that operation when the model is not written completely and successfully to Google Cloud Storage, it doesn't detect what kind of model it is. That's a framework that it's not detecting. And so it doesn't know how to handle it. It's like, is it a TensorFlow, XGBoost? What am I looking at? And it's not able to basically to parse it, I think.
So Sergio, the idea is to wait a few minutes or wait a minute maybe and try it again?
Yes, it may take a little bit once you create the model, and then you actually deploy the actual. It's confusing. It's not there anymore. If you go to Vertex, it doesn't work that way anymore.
In
But right
Vertex,
now,
it's
you have a model that's just a placeholder. It's just a name, and then your actual code, what we call the model, then it gets deployed. So I'm guessing just execute those same commands in a little bit and give it a few more minutes, and it should be.
You want to rerun the cell that's 28 right now.
We run 27, I think, right? We run 27.
Yeah.
The one before, yes,
Yeah,
right there. Yeah.
And I just reran.
Yeah.
I just ran 28 as well, just to show the list of.
That's not there. Yeah.
Just wanted to. Since we're running out, I want you guys to see something that's finished before we run out of time at this lab. So while you guys are waiting to try that again, I'm just going to go ahead and go to step 3.4. Send an online prediction request to your deployed model. This is something we did before, but we did locally. Send that. It gives us its predictions from 0 to 1. And we're done with this lab. And if I were to go back and check, did I create an AI platform model on the cloud? Yes. Did I create a version 1 of my model? Yes. Oh, I didn't even see these questions. Let's see. Model version is an instance of machine learning solution stored in the AI platform.
Anybody want to volunteer a guess? An educated guess?
The model version is an instance of a machine learning solution stored in the AI platform model service. Anyone?
Raphael seems pretty certain here. He put down one of the above. we got one vote for true, and you were right, Rafa. You should have trusted him.
AI platform offers training jobs and batch prediction jobs. True or false? I'm gonna go ahead and.
We didn't really talk about batch predictions in the lab, but these are all online right now. You guessed
in any
correctly.
case, it's true. So good. I have 10 minutes left in this lab. If wanted to make sure you guys actually saw this, at least the experience through this web conference. If you're still waiting to execute line number 27. So have you tried executing number 27 again? Has it come up with that same error?
Yeah, several times now. I think I'm at number 32, so still getting the error. I don't think.
I wonder.
Let's see. Let me look through it over here.
Huh. We did all the same things.
So the AI platform predict was successful and that worked. But if you go into the console and you look at AI platform and the model, do you see the model listed in AI platform, Norm? I guess for yours, I feel like it will.
Yeah, there is a census. I see it.
Yeah. Okay. So for yours, yeah, because that's the job. If you're in AI platform, okay, that's the bucket. In the AI platform tab, there's a models item on the left-hand side in the GCP console. And we look at models. Do you see your model listed there? And it is there, and it is V1. If you click through it, and it's US Central 1, that was one of the other items.
Who's the one that was having the error? Was it Raphael or who? Someone else?
At least two people had the same error.
You guys want to share your screen, maybe? You guys are able to?
One of us.
I'll go ahead and stop sharing. If anyone wants to feel like oh, Alphonse fixed his. It was a typo in the OS environment bar.
Oh, thank you, Alphonse. Okay. Let's scroll back and check that because that is part of the path, right?
It's interesting. Why didn't I run into it?
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah.
Let me go ahead.
Alphonse, do you mind? Do you want to share your screen if you'd like? You could show. It's okay if you
Sure.
prefer not to. It's also okay.
Let me see. In my case, it was in this one.
Mm-hmm.
I got a typo here in the name of the variable because I didn't copy paste. So later I get the error about the path. When I fix it, now I can run correctly this one without errors. And now it's doing that job here is still running, but I presume it will run without errors.
Okay, so you're just now rerunning that one. That's where the error will come
Yes.
out. It's on the
Yes, I'm rerunning from this line, from the first environment variable.
Right. Anyone else want to give that a try? At a minimum, we've gone through end to end, and it ought to work. And you should be able to complete the check-in points for. Has anyone gone back into the Qwiklabs in the instructions for the lab manual? And are you able to confirm those steps? Yeah, yours checks out, Raphael, right? So that'll unlock for you to be able to go back through and do it again or another. Is that a thumbs up from Connor? Good. All right. Perfect. All right. So at a minimum, you've checked all the boxes, even if the truth we know it didn't actually fully do it.
Yeah, hopefully you're able to get to congratulations. And then I know I only have 5 minutes left before I can end this lab, but you'll get the credits to do other Qwiklabs.
Yeah, so you should see 100 out of 100 there, assuming you got the answers. So we went through them together on the test. Anyone have any other questions about this lab in particular? And I know, Raphael, you had some questions around like the architecture or anything like that. We can take advantage. We have Sergio on here if we wanted to go a little more in depth, or just general questions about like the AI platform features. You did make a really interesting point, Raphael, is that there is very nice integrations between AI platform and now Sergio mentioned Vertex and Firebase. So if you're looking to train very cool models and do something with them, integration with Firebase is very nice, well put together.
Can I ask a question about the training data and the evaluation data and being able to like change that? So say we had a model and then we wanted to continuously update it the same way that like Tesla does with the Dojo. So we've got our data in buckets. Can you then continuously, like on a cron job, update that data, resplit your data into training, testing, evaluation, and then retrain the model on like a daily basis?
That's exactly what Vertex AI was built for. I mean, I'm not, in the time we have left, I'm not going to go into the details, but yeah, we can certainly spend some time outside of this session. But the Google Cloud Platform is built exactly for what you just described. I don't know, Sergio, Kyle, do you guys have anything else to say about that?
Yeah, perfect. So Kyle put in the chat a really nice reference. So yeah, yes, absolutely. What you're describing, it's actually a pretty standard situation where basically you have new user data that gets added on a regular basis. And at the time of your interval, you would write it to storage, make it part of your training or testing or whatever you want to do it, what you want to use it, and routinely run the training to keep the model updated. You can do this in a very simple, straightforward way, like you were saying. It could be a cron job, right? Because literally you can invoke this from a G Cloud, from a command line. If you wanted to do it a bit more sophisticated, like in a production and more serious environment, what Kyle referenced in the chat, it's actually the best that there is in the industry. If you're familiar with machine learning pipelines, basically think of containers that on a certain given condition, on let's say every day at this time, or let's say new data comes in, they automatically trigger this this set of instructions so that the retraining happens on a regular basis, and all you got to do is actually monitor it or maybe receive alerts if anything goes wrong. Not only this, it goes into more sophisticated parts like since we were talking about the data, how your data is actually changing, if there is any drift or skew in your training data or imbalances that you did not notice, but the ML pipelines and the components can notice for you. So let's say something was fairly represented, and now with your data added every day, becomes somewhat underrepresented. So your model is thrown off because there is an imbalance in your data. You don't need to go there and sit there and go crazy. It's something that it's built in. So this thing is repeated automatically at the interval of your choice, and it has some really nice added feature to make it really robust for a production environment at a large scale.
Right. So if you're able to follow that link and get this this PDF, this is practitioner's guide, right, for continuous delivery and automation of machine learning, and this is sort of the canonical, end-to-end ML ops, talking about continuous training, right, and then model deployment, serving predictions, and then continuous monitoring with a feedback loop to manage those models and feed it back in. If we go back, I think it's one further down, 28. Yeah, this is what Sergio was mentioning of model monitoring and the ability to do continuous evaluation and detection of drift, so that then you can pull in from your artifact repository to then update your training. And so that full ML ops life cycle, to pull in your models, determine if there's drift, determine if you need to then do something to update the model based on real world data that's now coming in, so that you can stay up as the environment around you changes. So obviously a pretty deep topic, just ML ops in general, But that's a good resource if you're curious about that, Rafael and others. Well, one other resource, I guess maybe two. Let's see here. There have dead trees books if you're interested. This one is a great one. The machine learning design patterns. Not just because it has cool animals on the cover, but the inside is also cool. And then this one is very good for Keras and TensorFlow. But those two, if you're interested in books, obviously there's ebooks of them as well. But those are two good real world concepts and techniques applying to it. Okay, yeah, me too, Rafael. I need to spend more time inside of them than looking at them on the shelf. Yeah. Very good. Well, everyone, this has been amazing. Thank you to Norm for leading this session. Hopefully it was beneficial to everybody. Thank you, Sergio and Gabi, for your assistance as we're going through, and to all of our participants on here. Really appreciate your engagement and plugging in. Please do find us on the C2C forums. And even if you don't see us individually, that is a really good way to meet other people who are working in the same space. So AI and ML, as I'm sure you're aware and probably experienced, is a very hot topic. There's a lot of interest in it. And seeing what other users and customers are doing already, or what they're struggling with trying to learn, I think is the best way to figure out where to focus your energies on there. So thank you for coming and attending tonight. We do have one more of these coming up next Wednesday. If you haven't already registered, I'll do another plug for it on the GDG website. The next one is going to be talking about serverless and Cloud Run. So go ahead and register for that one if you haven't already. With that, I'll end the recording for the September 29th GDG San Diego Cloud Jams. Thanks, everyone.